Hi guys and girls on YouTube. In this video we're going to take you on a little trip down memory lane, and I'm going to take you back to 1971 when I was just a 7-year-old boy. Now in the corner of our house we had a TV on a wooden stand, and there was a little table underneath, and underneath the table was a brown Phillips radio with a big dial on the front and a brown knob that you turned. Now one day I said to my dad, why do we never use this radio? And he said because it broke quite a few years earlier and we've never got around to having it fixed. So I offered to take a look at this radio. When I took the back off, all the valves lit up but it had no sound. So I declared to my dad that it needed a new sound valve. So one Saturday morning, me and my dad set off walking up to the marketplace to the local TV shop that sold valves, and we went in, we asked for this valve, and the guy behind the counter, he fumbled around on the shelf, he put a valve on the counter. My dad said, how much is it? And he said, it's 30 bob, £1.50 in new money. Now when we got it home, guess what? We put it in the radio and it still didn't work, and my dad went absolutely mad. All he went on about that day was how £1.50 was a lot of money, and he used to tell me how hard he had to work to earn £1.50. Now in them days money didn't mean anything to me. Now I know what you're thinking, how does he know the year was 1971? Well, being a hoarder, I keep a lot of things, and I just happened to have to hand my scrapbook from 1971, and I was always taking the backs off radios and electrical things and drawing pictures of them. So I'll just stop the camera and then I'll give you a quick look of that. Right, now here's my tatty old scrapbook. You can see in the corner it's dated 1971. If we turn the first page over, looks like a picture of me playing about with something. And we'll turn over again. That's a little picture of a Perdio transistor radio. And turn the page again. A few more things there, but there is the picture I drew down of the radio we had under the telly in 1971. Now over the years I've looked on the internet to find a radio like this, and I've not been able to find one, but I have found one that's surprisingly similar, and it does have the same big dial with the brown knob in the front and the pointer that moved up and down side to side. So being able to find the exact one, I've actually settled for one that's very, very close, and it is a Philips as well, and it's got the same dial on. So that's my story. Let's just take a look now at the journey through restoration, and we'll see where we end up. So here's the progress so far. I've cleaned all the case up, make sure there's no cracks in it. If you look down here, I've changed all the resistors in the set for 1980s radio spares type. I've cleaned all the dust off the chassis, I've cleaned it all up. I've resoldered all the dry joints underneath. Now there was a section on the dropper gone faulty under ohm for the heaters. I haven't got any droppers like that anymore, so I've just put a 100 ohm resistor on the side, which won't be a problem. It probably won't last as long, but it'll get the radio going. I've got, as you can see, I've got the HT reservoir capacitor out. Now when I say out, I've actually got the middle out of the capacitor. If you look down there, it's hollow, so you can put your finger right in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these three modern ones down inside there, and then when you solder it to the board, it's going to look absolutely original. So keep watching, guys, and we'll see where we go from here. Right, well that's the rebuilt HT reservoir back in the set, and that doesn't look too bad really. Now another little thing that I should have mentioned before, which I forgot, is it's very common on this particular radio to get a hum on the sound, and if we look around the sound output valve, you'll see the PCB is all blackened. Now what happens is this PCB material becomes electrically conductive due to the heat. So what I've done is I've lifted the grid pin from the underneath of the set, and I've brought it out to the top, and I've put the components that were on the grid underneath on top of the board, connected to that pin there, which used to be soldered underneath. So that will eliminate any leakage from the grid through the conductive printed circuit board. Now I've also had another little disaster I forgot to tell you about when I was disassembling the set, so I'll stop the camera and we'll just turn it upside down. Right, so if we take a look underneath the chassis, you'll see that I've resoldered every single solder joint on the board, and I've cleaned all the flux off. That will ensure that in years to come we don't have any dry joints on this radio. Now, I've also put a brand new volume control on and off switch in, because the other one was crackling when you turned it. I've tried some service on it and it didn't work. It was still crackling, so I've put a brand new one in. But the disaster I've had, if you look at that side, I actually broke the wave change switch trying to get the knob off. Right, so before we move on, let me explain this very important feature of this radio. Because it's an AC-DC set, it doesn't have a mains transformer, and of course because it doesn't have a mains transformer, it has a live chassis. Now that's no good, because the actual volume control and the wave change switch both have a metal spindle. So what Phillips have done, they've come up with a double grub screw assembly. Now what it is, the first grub screw, if you look down there, the actual hole in the volume control threaded. The first grub screw screws into there to hold the knob on. Then we have a bit of an insulator in between, and we have a larger grub screw that sits at the outside of the knob. So using this method, there's no way that the user can actually contact any metal parts when they're turning the switch. Now this is where the problem lies. The big grub screw, which is on the outside, you can see the hole, that's really easy to get to. But if you look at the depth of the knob, the second grub screw, which screws into the control itself there, is actually buried right down into that knob. Now obviously this second grub screw has a lot smaller head than the first one, and you need some very precision screwdrivers to get that out. You see, we're using the smallest screwdriver there is, and that only just fits. Now the problem is we're using precision screwdrivers. If that's rusted onto the actual shaft of the volume control, you're going to break the screwdriver before you get that out. So that's the problem I had. I could not get that second grub screw out the knob, and that's how come I broke the wave change switch. In the end I had to end up drilling the knob out. So I've actually ruined the knob in the radio, and in order to get another knob to match the radio, I've had to buy another spare radio. So here we are, guys, we're nearly at the completion stage, but what I've just realised is I made a huge mistake when I started this video. I didn't actually take any pictures of the radio before I started the restoration. Well, that's not a big deal, because I've had to get another radio which has provided a knob, a donor radio. Now the donor radio is completely untouched, so what we'll do is we'll have a look at the donor and then we'll have a look at the completed one, because obviously a radio that's 60 years old, they're all going to look pretty similar inside. They're going to be dirty, dusty, you're not going to be able to see anything. So first of all, this is the donor radio that's provided the new knob. Now if you look very closely, there's that much dirt on the circuit board, you can't actually see what value any of the resistors are. So that's the donor, that's completely untouched just as I got it. Now if we move over to the restored one, you'll see inside there's no dust. I've cleaned everything up so you can see all the new resistors. This set uses like a tubular ceramic capacitor that I don't think ever go wrong. It doesn't use wax paper, so I've not changed any capacitors in it apart from rebuilding the HD reservoir capacitor. Under there you can see the new wave change switch. I think that capacitor there I've changed, which is I think it's connected to the cathode of the frequency changer valve. I changed that because that was like a black waxy one, but that was the only one that was like kind of waxy in it. That's the underneath of the original one. So what I'll do now is we'll just zoom out. I'll stop the camera and then we'll turn it round to the front. I'll put the back on and we'll switch it on, see how it runs. Right, so here we go. Here's the frontal view of the radio together with the back. Now if you look at this one, you can see where the donor knobs come from. This is totally original. It's all dirty, it's all yellow. We move over to the restored one. I've polished all the case up. I've taken all these bits out and cleaned them, polished them. The knobs have been cleaned. It's a total transformation. Now I know what you're thinking. That's obviously all yellow. This one, when I got it, was all yellow. How did I get it so white? Well, it's not really a big secret. You just go down to your local car shop. This is a tin of Alpine white citron paint, which is not as white as it looks in the video. I thought maybe when these are new, this wouldn't be a brilliant white, it'd be a creamy off-white. So that's what I've repainted the front with. It's citron Alpine white. Right, so here we are. We're reaching the end of the video now. All that remains to do, the radio's all back together. As you can see, the back's on. All that remains to do now is get it in view of the camera, turn it on and let the valves up and let's see it running.
Cups of tea. So Daddy just uploaded 11 pages.
To go through a large pool of bills to work out who is owed what, and they say most customers have been credited and the remaining few will be in the next few weeks.
And those are surpluses credited to their energy account, but what if customers want the money back in cash?
Scottish Power told me that their customers have the right to request the return of any credit back to their bank account at any point. Ofgem doesn't set limits on the time taken to return credit value.
So there we go, guys. Many thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe for some more. Before we go, I'll just tell you one more thing about this radio. I have actually got the original box for it. That's the model number. I presume that's the serial number. And that's the original box. Phillips, the dependable radio, which is not bad for a radio that was built in 1958, 1959 perhaps. Good for a few more years to come. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll see you in the next video, everybody.